September 23rd, 2003. This interview with Frank Iadevia is taking place at the Westbury Senior Citizens Center. Frank was born on March 13th, 1925, and lives at 67 May Avenue, Westbury. My name is Susan Pilveric, and I will be the interviewer. I am the curator of the local history collection, and am representing the Historical Society of the Westburys, an official partner for the Veterans History Project. Frank, can you state for the recording what war and branch of service you served in?
World War One, World War II, United States Army. I was in an armored infantry division.
What was your rank and where did you serve?
I was a PFC, and I served in Europe.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
Well, I was drafted, but I wrote a letter to the draft board telling them I was ready to go.
Where were you living at the time?
I was born in Westbury, and I'm still in Westbury.
So you said you were ready to go to the service. You wanted to join?
I wanted to join. I wanted to get in, right?
Why did you pick the service branch that you joined?
You don't pick when you're drafted. They tell you where to go.
Okay. Do you recall your first days in service?
Oh yeah, very well. Yeah, I was out here on the island, and that's where I met my wife's brother. Then from there we went to Camp Campbell, Kentucky.
And that was where you had your training?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember your instructors or any significant things about your training?
Well, I spent a lot of time on KP because, like I say, I was 18 and I was kind of crazy. But I do remember some of the instructors. You know, one especially played the guitar while we were trying to sleep. So I yelled at him, and I was on KP for 3 days.
So another question is, how did you get through it?
Well, I enjoyed it actually. When you're young, you want to see the action, and it was with a lot of good men and people that we enjoyed it.
Where did you go from there?
Well, actually, on June 6th, that was D-Day. I boarded a ship in Taunton, Massachusetts, and we went to England. That was after 1 year of training.
Okay, so that was. Now, I guess I should have asked you when you entered the service. What year was that?
1943.
Okay, so then the next year you went over to England.
Correct.
And you were involved in the invasion in Normandy?
No, I left the States on D-Day, which was the invasion day, and 1 month later, I was in France in combat.
Okay. And can you tell me about your experiences there in France?
Well, I was there for the big invasion where the planes came and bombed everything, and then we took off. And a month later, I was wounded. So I went to a hospital in England.
And how long were you there?
I was in England for about a month and a half, then I went right back into combat again, and I was wounded again, but it was minor. But then we went right to the end of the war.
You said it was minor, so you just stayed there and recovered as you were fighting or whatever?
They bandaged it. It was just a piece of shrapnel in the arm. It's still in there. They didn't take it out.
Does that bother you at all?
Well, the shrapnel on my wrists bother me, both arms. I got it in both arms, and it still hurts.
Now, you've received a number of medals here. Can you tell me about them and what you received them for, what you did to receive them?
Well, one of them is the Bronze Star, which I got for carrying our radio and sticking with a lieutenant in combat. The lieutenant runs the place, and we run all over the place. Mm-hmm. So he put me in for the medal. But we also got a unit citation. We lost almost 3/4 of our men in one of these battles, and so we got a unit citation for that. And I have 5 battle stars. I was in 5 different battles in Europe.
Do you have anything to say?
Belgium, and you were Notre Dame.
Yeah, no, we were the first ones into Cologne, Germany, and there's this Dom Cathedral, this beautiful cathedral, and I was the first one in. I went inside. There's nobody in. No one was inside it, but I was the first one in there, and it was right on the river. I can't remember which one. No, it wasn't. It was the Dom, D-O-M. It's a big cathedral, beautiful cathedral. And we were stuck there for a while. Yeah. You know, I was in Belgium during the Bulge, the Battle of the Bulge. We were pulled away from our unit and sent to Belgium, and that's where I was wounded on the second time. But we went through that campaign. I don't think we were ever inside a building, and it was freezing. We had no change of clothes, no baths, no showers, and food was hard to come by. And we were surrounded there during the Battle of Bastogne. We were close by, not in Bastogne, but we were surrounded for 3 days too. And then the skies cleared, the planes came out, and it broke up everything in Belgium.
And then,
I can tell you how I was wounded.
yes.
We were taking a town in France, and we were on the right side, and one group was supposed to go through the middle, and another on the left side. So our radio went kaput, so they sent me through the town to meet with this group that was coming through the center of town to get another radio. So I'm walking up the street, and I see this gun with men. I figured it was our men. First thing I know, they fired an 88 millimeter at me. It hit a building, missed me, hit the building, but I was carrying my rifle. I smashed my rifle into 3 pieces, and I got shot in the arms, both arms, the neck, and a few other places. And I stayed there a while. I ran inside a building and bandaged one of my wounds. I only had one bandage. And then a group of guys came looking for me because I didn't get back, and they killed all the men on that tank gun. They got a medal. All I got was a Purple Heart.
Now, was that, when you were wounded there, was that when you went to England to recover?
Yes, that was the first time I was wounded. It was in a town called Mortain, and they took me by ambulance. What a ride that was, all the way back to the seaport, and then I got on a boat, and they took me to England, and I met my future brother-in-law in a hospital there.
Frank met my brother. Frank was from Westbury, my brother was from Long Island City, and they met in camp. And although Frank was only 18, my brother was 24, I think. So my brother took him down to the house. I mean, we met him, but I thought he was too young for me, you know. He was like a kid. At the time, I worked for the War Department, too, as a clerk typist. But they went overseas, and they were separated. Both of them were wounded, sent back to England, and they met in the hospital. They were so excited to see each other after all what they went through. When the war was over, Frank came home to Westbury. My brother came home to Long Island City, and Frank called back Christmas. He said, "What do you do?" He said, "Why don't you come down here? I come from a big family. We were celebrating the end of the war." And he came. That was Christmas Day, 1945. And a few months later, on my birthday, February 1946, we got engaged. I only knew him 6 weeks, really. And 6 months later, we were married, and we just celebrated 57 years of married life. And my brother thought it would last.
Now, so after you were in Belgium, where did you go? I'm trying to follow different places you went here. You were wounded the second time, you said. That was when you were following the lieutenant around with the radio?
Yes, that was in Belgium at that time. Then that was the Battle of the Bulge. Then we pushed the Germans back. Someone got over the bridge, the 9th Armored Division, and over the Rhine River, and we proceeded on, and we kept going. In fact, we went so far in one day, 100 miles in one day with the tanks, that they call us Spearhead Division. And then we reached the Elbe River. Some of our men went across, then we were told to come back. The Russians were on the other side. So that's where we ended up with the war, and from there we came back to the States.
He was in the 3rd Army of the General Patton. Weren't you?
Oh, we say that.
Yeah.
General Patton was the
What is
3rd
that 3rd
Army.
Army?
3rd Armored Division was under General Hodges.
I always thought it was the General.
No, it wasn't Patton. We were in the 3rd Armored Division. He was the 3rd Army. Everybody gets mixed up with that. But we hold the record for, traveling most of one day through enemy territory.
Now, I have some other questions about your life in the Army. How did you stay in touch with your family?
Well, we wrote letters. That's about all we could do is write letters. There was no other way,
Right.
But we communicated. I try to write every week.
And did you receive letters from them too?
Oh, yes, definitely, yeah.
And what was the food like?
Tell about the pancakes. Tell us.
Well, the food was, we were traveling so far and so fast that it was hard that we never had hot meals. That was impossible. We had K rations. And in fact, we came out from a battle and they gave us a rest period and we had hot meals. And I walked up to the kitchen and they asked me how many pancakes I wanted. I said 12. So they put 12 on the plate and they said to me, you better eat them all. And I did.
You could do that today.
No. Well, I don't know. I think we could.
Oh.
And how did people entertain themselves?
How did people?
Entertain yourself?
We had some USO shows, but they were always so crowded. But that's about all. We didn't have much. We were on the move all the time.
Wasn't much time for
No.
entertainment. Do you recall any other particularly humorous or unusual events other than what you've told me already?
No, not really. Nothing humorous, but the camaraderie with the men when you're in combat.
Did you stay in touch with some of them after you got back from the war?
Yeah, in fact, I shot one of them. we were in a place, it was in France, and we were told to move out, and I took this machine gun to unload it, but it jammed, and I kept pulling on it, and it finally went off, and it went through a door, and hit one of my buddies in the arm, and I don't know if he got the purple one. I think he did. But they wanted to court-martial me, but we found out we took this gun out of a burnt-out tank, and it malfunctioned. So they let me go. It wasn't humorous, but it was a strange twist. I still communicate with the person. He sends me a Christmas card every year. Lloyd Bolivar.
Our best man. His buddy was our best man. Arthur Carey. Your buddy was Arthur Carey, and he was our best man.
He's not the man I shot.
No, she said, is there anybody you still kept in touch with?
Oh, yeah.
He was our best man.
Yeah.
At the wedding, yeah.
Yeah, we kept in touch for a while, and after a while it just, you don't see them and you stop writing.
Right. He sent us Christmas cards, and then before you know, you get a letter from the wife that he
He
died.
died, and
So the kid says, my brother.
yeah.
Did you keep a diary?
No, I didn't. No.
Did you know any of the servicemen who did, or were they all too busy to do that?
I don't know of anyone that did, no. We were always on the move. We were an armored division. We rode on tanks and half-tracks, and it was hard to keep up with writing paper and stuff.
Right. Do you recall the day your service ended?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was in December. And I remember they asked anybody wanted to put in a claim for, for a pension. A lot of guys wouldn't do it because they were anxious to go home. So I put in a claim, and I get 30% disability. And I still get it.
That was a good thing.
Yeah.
Afterward, you met your wife and married, and can you tell me something about your life after that? Where did you work, and where did you live?
Well, when I got out, I got a job with the post office. I worked 5 years with them, but it wasn't enough money. We had children come. We had 2 children at the time. So I went into business for myself, grocery deli that made sandwiches. And I spent 10 years traveling back and forth to Long Island City. And then I got a job with the County of Nassau as a carpenter. And I became a carpenter supervisor. I worked there 20 years, retired. We've been married 57 years. We had 5 children.
Do your children live around here?
2 of them are in Florida. 1 is deceased, and I have a daughter just getting married this next year. And the other, yeah, the son still lives in Levittown with his 2 children, grandchildren. We have 5 grandchildren.
So you get to see some of your family fairly often?
Oh yeah, we see the ones in Florida every year. We drive down every year. We communicate with the computer.
Do you belong to any veterans organizations?
I'm a life member of the DAV, Disabled Veterans, and I belong to the Veterans of Foreign War. And I became a volunteer fireman too while I was there for 44 years. I was a water and fire commissioner for 18 years. And I just got out. I got defeated, so I got out.
Yes, I think I remember seeing your name in the paper, running for that post. Yes.
Yeah, 18 years, and I got beat on a write-in vote, believe it or not. They came with 500 people.
We don't want to go into that.
Well, I was ready to retire anyway, and I'm enjoying retirement. I'm president of the senior center here, and we have a good life. We go Atlantic City, we go on trips. It's been great.
Is there anything else that you would like to say?
No. I don't know what to say now, but...
Yeah, no, we had a good life.
Yeah.
Losing a child, and then our granddaughter was killed in an accident 2 years ago. So we had our heartaches like everyone else.
And yet, and all the service, it's rough in the service. I guess anybody who goes through it and comes out alive is grateful, and it was an experience. And I don't regret it at all, being in the combat. Really learned a lot.
Both our fathers served in World War I. My father got the Purple Heart from World War I.
Yeah.
Are you engaged, Sue?
I'm married.
Oh, well, I didn't see the other ring.
She's looking at rings.
Yeah, well, my daughter got engaged, that's fine. All in all, we had a good life, thank
That
goodness.
was a story. Not much, but...
No, I thank you very much, and I would like to just ask your wife to tell her experience. We'll get a little bit of that, too.
I got out of high school very young at 17. The war was in full blast, 1943. And private industries were grabbing anybody. You could get any job you wanted. They gave us the civil service tests right at our desk in school, and they grabbed us. And I went to work for the War Department, the Corps of Engineers. The officers were at 120 Wall Street. We used to see the boats come in when the fellows were coming home, and that was wonderful. But mostly I was clerk typist to type bills of lading when shipments were being diverted from a camp to the port of embarkation, because those guys were leaving for overseas. And it was interesting. It was nice seeing the boys come home on those boats, though. The excitement with the water coming over the boats like that. That's how we were just, and when the war was over, the celebration, I know. I was in, where was Cape Cod? I don't know if you want to know this. Cape Cod is a dry town. I mean, in those days.
Okay.
The biggest mistake was closing the bars and the liquor stores. As I say, I was only 18 by then, a year later. It was a Navy town. I mean, those guys were going crazy. Everybody was looking for a drink to celebrate. I mean, they were running through the streets. It was awful. So we took a boat. I was with 4 other girls. We said, let's go home because, don't forget, my brother was still overseas, or my brother-in-law. And so we went home, and I couldn't believe how they were celebrating in New York. My God. I lived in a tenement. Every stoop had barrels of beer and wine and screaming and hollering. It was so different, you know, how they celebrate New York compared to that dry town in Cape Cod. We really celebrated. They were so happy it was over.
Now, was this victory in Europe, VE Day?
That was VJ, actually VJ Day. Yeah. No, VJ happened in August that year.
Right.
Or VJ was August, or... It's funny, my subway station in Long Island City was Vernon and Jackson, so VJ, they play that up a lot, that we had VJ already written on our subway station.
Right.
That was good. I forget, it was sad. I mean, my brother was also wounded when you saw the telegrams come to the house.
Yes.
We had several that were killed in the neighborhood. But the telegrams had a star on them. This way, the delivery man knew that if it was a death, you know, he's going to be much sadder than the other that just said, hurt slightly in action. I think there's a picture there of another with the gold, not the gold star, with a star in the window. Everybody put a star in the window when you had somebody in the service. The gold star when you lost somebody. But the rest was just, look at the Sullivan brothers, 5 of them, huh? My God. You know the story of the Sullivan brothers?
5 of them.
All on a ship.
Oh, I may have heard it. But
Oh.
Look at the rain. Wind's blowing it like crazy.
You don't know the story of the 5 Sullivan brothers? It was a movie, too.
Well, now, is that the movie that they made, Saving Private Ryan? Was that based
No.
on that?
Way out there. No, these fellows were
5 brothers.
5 brothers that were sailors, and they were on the same ship.
They
And
were
it was
killed.
torpedoed. 5 of them were killed. And since then,
Yeah, they wouldn't put all of them in the same,
they've always
Right.
separate
same
them.
ranch.
That was awful.
Yes,
Yeah. But he had a brother, but he was too young to go into service, thank God. He was 10 years younger than Frank, yeah. My brother even got to be Fleming for a while, too, because he was the only boy that he went in. Yeah. Very hard in those days. Everybody had somebody in this. We had 26 members of our family, and, you know, cousins and even my uncle Frank. At 35, he was considered old, but he wasn't married, so he was drafted. And he drove that truck on the sands at Anzio. He got night blindness. Well, he was on top. He was in Africa at the time before they went into Italy. Anzio was in Italy. So he drove a truck on the sands in Africa and got night blindness. I don't know what you call it from the sand. Then he went in. 35 was considered old, you know. Like he was only 18 or 19, yeah. So that was the story of it a long time ago. They go with to tell it, like you could say that the young boy said. Okay, then.
Okay, well, is there anything else that you can think of that you'd like to say?
Well, my brother-in-laws were dead. They're all dead now. Oh, that was beautiful. This Pete right home, my sister. That was my brother-in-law. He was married to my sister, and she had a baby while he was overseas, you know. That was sad. But he survived, though, you know. It was sad how the fellows were separated, that their wives were having babies and all. Everybody got drafted. I mean, those days, everybody went. Matter of fact, everybody was in. That's all you saw was sailors and soldiers every day. But anyway, I hope we never go to war again. Of course, we are at war now. Unbelievable.
Okay, well, thank you very much for being interviewed, and we appreciate it. Would you tell me again about the V-mail? Describe it as you just did.
Well, in those days, they don't have what they have today. So when you wrote a letter, it was made down into, I'm telling you, just about 4 by 4. It was called V-mail. So, of course, they could ship millions of them by plane overseas. But most of it was crossed out because they didn't want you to say where you were or anything. So you would see, Dear Marie, love Frank. I mean, that's all there was, but you knew he was safe. But it took months before a letter would get through to you.
Okay, thank you.